Three, two, one, and action. Welcome to Hot Topics, everybody. This is my new channel. It's called Hot Topics. My name is Jess. I'm going to be your host, and I will be discussing the hottest topics as they arise around the world. And today we are going to be talking about the U.S.'s withdrawal from Afghanistan. And I would like everybody, if they'd like to, leave a comment down below what you think, whether you agree, whether you disagree. And make sure you subscribe to this channel because there's going to be a lot of awesome hot topics in the future. And so let's get started. It says Joe Biden said Tuesday, according to CNN, that the U.S. is on track to complete its hurried airlift in Afghanistan by August 31st, acknowledging he does not plan to keep American troops in the country any longer. So he's not going to be. So I guess he's not going to be leaving the troops in Afghanistan no longer than August 31st. Tell me what you think. A lot of people agree with that. Whether some people disagree with that. Tell me why. Maybe why you agree with it. Why you don't agree with it. Let's go further. In late afternoon remarks at the White House, Biden recognizes the success of the mission will depend largely on cooperation from the Taliban. Now, that's a big issue. Biden says he recognizes that the success of the mission will depend largely on the cooperation of the Taliban. Now, a lot of Americans believe, how should we depend on the cooperation of the Taliban for our success in Afghanistan? That is a big issue. Now, a lot of people might not agree with that. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment down below. Because that is a big issue. It should depend on our American troops, not on the Taliban. That's what a lot of people would think. He said he asked military leaders to be ready with contingency options to adjust that timetable if it becomes necessary. So I guess they might adjust it if it becomes necessary. So I guess that's according to the Taliban. If the Taliban, I guess, if they do what they're supposed to do and not um, it, not abuse people when they're trying to leave or whatever, I think everything will go as planned, and hopefully we should be out of there by August 31st without any problems. We are currently on pace to finish by August 31st. I am determined to complete our mission, Biden said in a speech that was delayed by hours. Still, he said, meeting that deadline depends on the Taliban continuing to cooperate and allow access to the airport to those who are transporting out and no disruptions to our operation. Well, that's good. Like he says, that deadline depends on the Taliban continuing to cooperate. So as long as the Taliban continues to cooperate, hopefully we'll be out of there without any problems. The sooner we finish, the better, Biden said. Each day of operations brings added risks to our troops. Earlier in the day, Biden relayed his decision on sticking to the end of the month deadline in crisis talks with a group of seven, making clear the decision was in large part driven by persistent security risks. I guess it could be the longer we're in there, the more risky, or it could be. I know a lot of people believe that we were there for 20 years. It's about time we should pull out of there. But how we pull out is very important. It is a tenuous situation, he said in his remarks, describing an acute risk of attack from the ISIS affiliate operating in Afghanistan. Um, Biden's foreign counterparts had entered the morning G7 meeting prepared to apply pressure on Biden to extend the deadline, arguing more time is needed to evacuate their citizens and at-risk Afghans who assisted in the war effort, but aware of the risks that will not confront American troops in September. Biden made clear he wants the airlift finished by the end of the month. See, a lot of people think that might not be enough time because we do have a lot of Americans still over in Afghanistan, and we also have a lot of allies that might not be able to get out by that time. Um, and it might be dangerous for them to go to the airport, some people believe, because they'll have to pass through Taliban security, because the Taliban they're Taliban checkpoints. I shouldn't say security, Taliban checkpoints on the way to the airport, so that can be risky for people that are allies with the Americans. So continuing, it says, while the Pentagon has voiced confidence it can evacuate all remaining Americans in the country by next week, it's less clear it will be able to assist the thousands of Afghans who assisted the war effort and are still awaiting their turn to leave. So that's a major issue. Many Afghan allies who the U.S. has aimed to help will be left behind, a senior administration official told CNN, adding that would be true whenever we evacuated and whenever the Taliban took over. The official said that 70,000 people evacuated in the last 10 days does not closely match the universe of Afghan allies potentially eligible to come to the U.S., which Biden had previously estimated at 50 to 65,000. Many of the 70,000 evacuated have included different groups of Afghan allies given priority by the U.S. European partners. In addition, some of those evacuated have not even applied for special immigrant visa status yet, though they will in Qatar or Kuwait. The official declined to estimate the number of Americans still in Afghanistan, deferring to Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who will speak on Wednesday, but said the number on August 14th was probably lower than most people believe, because a lot left in the final few weeks. Evacuation effort picks up steam. The crisis talks of the G7 came as the Afghanistan evacuation effort picks up steam, now far exceeding the administration's initial daily goals. Biden said on Tuesday that in the past 12 hours, 12,000 people had been evacuated from Kabul, 6,400 on 19 separate U.S. military flights, and 5,600 on 31 different coalition flights. The Pentagon said the military has increased the pace of flights out of Kabul to one in every 45 minutes. Wow. In total, the White House says U.S. efforts have facilitated the evacuation of approximately 70,700 people since August 14th, Biden said. Approximately 1,000 Afghans have arrived at Dulles International Airport outside of Washington, D.C. in the last 24 hours, according to the Pentagon. So that's a lot of people arriving. The massive logistical undertaking by the American military, which took control of part of Kabul's international airport, including its air traffic control in the aftermath of the Taliban takeover, has allowed other countries to evacuate their citizens. If the U.S. withdraws, it's unclear whether civilians from any country would still be able to leave. European allies of the United States stressed during the talks that they wanted to ensure any possibility of a deadline extension that was considered by the U.S., according to a person familiar with the call. So it appears that a lot of people are worried that if the Americans leave, the U.S. leaves, and the people that are left behind, the Afghans and the other Americans that are in Afghanistan, will they be able to leave? Once the Americans are gone. That's the big question. That's the $1 million question right there. If the American soldiers are not in Afghanistan anymore, and other civilians want to leave Afghanistan, will they be able to? That's a major important issue. That's something. If you want to leave a comment down below, what do you think? Do you think that they would still be able to leave, or do you think the Taliban would allow them to leave, or do you think they would persecute them if they tried to leave? That's a major issue. While advocating for leaving at the end of the month, Biden said the risk of an attack is very high, an administration official said. Despite the massively scaled up flights, some of Biden's advisors have worried about U.S. troops' safety and the potential for ISIS or Taliban reprisals should they stay any longer than August 31st. Representatives for the Taliban have called the deadline firm and said American troops remaining past the date would amount to a clear violation of their agreement with the United States. Again, I believe the Americans should make the rules, not the Taliban. For one reason, the Taliban is not even, they're controlling Afghanistan, but they're not really Afghanistan. It's the Afghanis or the people of Afghanistan are the ones that really should control Afghanistan, in my opinion. The Taliban has made clear that our leadership will take proper and necessary decisions should the U.S. stay past August 31st, spokesman Sohail Shaheen said Monday. August 31st is a deadline announced by them, the Taliban spokesman said. U.S. must adhere to removing troops from Afghanistan by this date, otherwise it will be a clear violation. The administration has remained in daily discussion with the Taliban on security matters, including the end of the month deadline. The CIA director, Bill Burns, traveled to Afghanistan this week to meet with Taliban leader Abdul Ghani Baradar, according to senior administration officials who said the U.S. is seeking a clearer understanding of where the Taliban stands on several issues as the clock ticks towards the deadline. I think a lot of that will depend on, how the Taliban's going to treat the Afghan citizens once they leave. I think if they're shown to abuse people and that sort of thing, it's going to be an issue. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment down below. Burns, a seasoned career diplomat, is the highest-ranking U.S. official to meet in person with Taliban leadership since Afghanistan's civilian government collapsed on August 15th. Ahead of Tuesday, G7, some of the president's national security team warned against an extension, pointing to the rapidly sped-up flights out of the country. Any extension would have been likely to be very brief and focused only on evacuating Americans, according to one official familiar with the matter, who said all contingencies were under discussion. G7 nations pressure U.S. to stay past August 31st. So a lot of nations want us to stay past August 31st. I don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Tell me what you think. Remember, leave a comment down below. I want this to be a group discussion. Um, the emergency meeting of the G7 was called this week to respond to the chaotic events in Kabul, where tens of thousands of foreign nationals and Afghan citizens who assisted in the war efforts are desperately trying to leave. Britain and France, in particular, were pressing Biden to leave troops in country for an extra few days, arguing it would still allow him to meet his original 9/11 withdrawal date for U.S. forces. Even some U.S. Democrats agree. House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff emerged from a classified briefing with intelligence officials on Monday pessimistic the Biden administration will be able to meet its goal of evacuating all Americans and its allies from Afghanistan by August 31st, saying that was very unlikely. It's hard for me to imagine all of that can be accomplished between now and the end of the month, Schiff said, adding he was worried about the terror threat to the airport. That is true. We've been there for 20 years. It's hard to believe that we can just leave there in a month and just pack everything up and go, in my opinion. Again, tell me what you think. That's just my opinion on the matter. There was another all-member House briefing on Afghanistan scheduled for Tuesday morning. Top members of Biden's national security team, including the Secretaries of State and Defense, all briefed lawmakers. Emerging afterwards, lawmakers from both parties said they pressed the officials to extend the August 31st deadline. There was strong bipartisan support to extend the August 31st deadline, said Rep. Elisa Slotkin, a Michigan Democrat. That was a major theme, a major comment, a major point we all tried to make, urging them to do more to advocate with the president to extend the deadline. So tell me what you think. Should we extend the deadline or should we be out of there by August 31st? Leave a comment down below. GS members also planned on Tuesday to discuss whether or when they should jointly recognize the Taliban as Afghanistan's government. That's another issue too. Should we recognize the Taliban as Afghanistan's government? I guess if you're an Afghan, you would definitely have a strong opinion on that. Western officials familiar with the planning told CNN any decision on whether to recognize the Taliban would come with enormous consequence that could be used as leverage to compel the group to respect human rights, the official said. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who hosted the meeting as the current G7 president, is advocating for a unified approach to the Taliban, according to Western officials. He wants the world's leading Democrats to come up with a plan on how to recognize the government or potentially apply economic sanctions or withhold aid. So far, no governments have recognized the Taliban as the official government of Afghanistan. Doing so could allow the country access to previously committed foreign aid. Um, so that is the hot topic of the day. Should the Americans be out of Afghanistan by August 31st? Um, should the Taliban, should they be recognized as a government, as Afghanistan's government? Tell me what you think. Leave a comment down below, and remember to like and subscribe to the Hot Topics channel. My name's Jess. I am the host, and I will be discussing the world's hottest topics as they arise. All right, everybody, have an awesome day, and remember to stay informed. All right, peace out.